there's been a tendency this season with Whitaker. I feel like, well, first of all, he's had kind of the most ridiculous day of anybody, I feel like, with the
Mhm.
different spills and all that. But it
Yeah.
almost seems like people underestimate him a little bit. So I was wondering if you could speak a little bit to, what some of his strengths are that maybe people aren't picking up on or that we might see kind of down the road.
Well, yeah, I mean, like you said, I think he sort of has the shift from hell. I think he gets everything, the worst possible things thrown at him, a death and then bodily fluids also thrown at him. But yeah, I mean, I think with Whitaker, his sort of big obstacle is just his confidence and the fact everything is so overwhelming. Him being from like a small rural community, I think his biggest pitfall is just it's just a lot. Like being in a city and then an emergency department on top of that. But I think there's obviously real competence there. Um, and, he just has to get past a lot of how to interact with people in this situation and stuff like that. But also, I think his strength is the resilience that he does bounce back from all of these things. He actually doesn't really, I think he kicks himself, but he keeps going. So I guess that's commendable, I hope.
Yeah, it definitely is. And I
He doesn't
think that
quit. He doesn't quit straight away. So yeah.
no, he doesn't. And that I think kind of speaks to my next question that's a little bit more broad in terms of like he seems to be compartmentalizing better than some of the more experienced doctors at this point.
Yeah.
He obviously is beating himself up about that death because he got sort of close to that Mr. Milton early on, but then the rest of it, he just kind of, very unassuming, has like this even keel about him.
Yeah.
Um, does any of that start to fray at any point that you're able to tease, or is that just how is he doing this basically?
Well, he's still. I think he just. I think in a way, having that happen very early on with Mr. Milton and the death, I think in some ways is a good thing because when the worst possible thing happens, you have to sort of really lock in and keep going. And he does. He keeps getting tested. Uh, and there are very similar situations. Getting asked to do chest compressions again after that first thing. Uh, but I think Dr. Robbie sort of intentionally makes sure Whitaker is, reliving it and he's sort of pushing him in rather than sort of telling him take a step back. He just has to carry on regardless. So maybe there's a bit of a he just has to sort of disconnect a little bit. Um, he's getting a real crash course in everything, within I think about 3 hours, I think. Yeah,
Crash course, splash
yeah,
course.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Um, and I actually did want to look a little bit ahead. I finally lost my battle with watching ahead. Episode 9.
Oh yeah, I think.
Yeah. So the very same patient that decided to pee on him early on, he has that really kind of beautiful moment with him where he hears his story and his background, and he just automatically, no judgment. Sure, let's help you out.
Mhm.
How is that? What does that speak to about his character, and how does that, internally work for him that he's able to just, okay, to care like that?
I think that's the point where he sort of finds that balance of like the disconnect, but also the human element of it. I think he's the first sort of person he sees in, two completely different ends of the spectrum, and maybe feels personally attacked for obvious reasons. Um, so literally, but he has to. He really sees the human there, um, and also sees that there are potentially other things outside of the emergency department, and becomes interested in the whole street team aspect of it. Um, I think it's just, yeah, he finally sort of connects with someone he never thought he could possibly connect with, and I think that shows him a little bit of hope in his situation that he can maybe do this, and he can maybe, you know, yeah, he can maybe do this. Maybe. Yeah.
Maybe. Well, I
Yeah.
mean, he's very capable with a number of things that nobody else is. I think it's that same episode. Yeah, I think it's also nine, the rat situation.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
how,
Yeah.
you know, how does playing some of these kind of crazier moments like the rat and everything else we've talked about, you know, work for you when you're also seeing the rest of the script and some of the other scenes even that you're in are these just very serious life and death
Yeah.
moments.
Well, I hope it brings a bit of levity, but yeah, it is. We film it all sort of sequentially. So yeah, it was 100% a situation of getting each script and being like, oh, okay, this is happening. There's another bodily fluid. Um, there's something else. But yeah, I mean, like the rat situation, I don't think specifically what happens with Whitaker and the rat isn't something that happens every day in the ER. And I don't think, it's not something you'll be like, oh, I can do this too. But I just hope it just shows more of his, makes him feel a little bit more useful in a fun, in a way. And he gets to show more of his character in a weird way through that, people get to see his,
Yeah.
I don't know, his different skills.
I mean, Santos has been on him the whole season about Huckleberry and being a farm boy. And I mean,
Yeah.
I don't think she could have done that, you know.
Well, yeah. I mean, yeah. It's like you want to see a farm boy, then I'll show you a farm boy. It is a bit of a bit of a redemption thing with being called out for being a farm boy. And hey, yeah, maybe you need a farm boy around here every now and again. You know.
It certainly helps, but interacting with some of these different characters, does he ever get to, you know, point out to them or kind of let go of that again, like I was talking about with the even keel, does he ever get to come out of that shell by the end of it? Like everybody else seems to be stacking up their stress.
I think in different ways, there's only so much you can show in at one shift, even though I think a lot happens to the characters. But yeah, there are definitely some moments coming up that I won't spoil that really show uh again just like a human element outside of all the trauma and the craziness. Whitaker does get some surprising interactions with people that I hope people will enjoy. Yeah.
Keeping an eye on the time.
That's all good.
So for you, out of all the crazy things that he's been through, the Myrnas, the fluids, the
Yeah. Yeah.
I can't even imagine rat. What was
Yeah.
the most difficult for you to work out playing it as an actor? And then which did you actually kind of look forward to or enjoy the most?
Well, I think, the trauma scenes where we're in the trauma rooms, I think were the most intimidating things for all of us. Um, but in the end, I think ended up being the most sort of satisfying as an actor because I think just giving us things to do.
Mm.
Uh, we did a lot of rehearsals with those trauma scenes where we are performing the procedures as realistically as we can. And in a funny way, I think for all of us, it sort of takes a lot of take gets you out of your head a lot. So, I think you can still find out a lot about the characters through those scenes, but it was really surprising how when you just get out of your head because you're performing a life-saving procedure here as realistically as we can. um we'd finish those scenes and it would be a bit of a blur, but people would be like, "Oh, that was great. That was amazing." Like what? And we'd be like, "I don't know what I did. I don't know what I did." So those were scary, but the most sort of fulfilling things in the end, I think, if that answers your question.
Yeah, I think that does. Anything else you want to kind of tease for the rest of the season or make sure people kind of know about this character real quick?
Oh, I mean, yeah, it gets crazier. I think I can say that. I think there's a atmosphere that it's building to something, and I would personally say it definitely does. Oh yeah, that sounded way too mysterious, didn't it? But
No, I like that because it
yeah,
prepares people, but it gives absolutely nothing away. And
yeah, but
that's
it's also not what I think people will expect, which is very satisfying. Yeah, it's not what people will expect. People have theories, and I don't. That yeah, I'm looking forward to see what people think of that.
great. Thank you very
That
much. I've enjoyed
that
it
was
so
too
far and I
mysterious.
can't wait. Yeah,
Thank you, thank you.
thank you.
Appreciate it, Shanna.